Good morning, students. We are going to continue with chapter 6 of NCERT, that is life processes. Students, in our last class, we have covered respiration in human. Now, it's time to understand the circulatory system. So, let's begin with today's presentation. Topics which are being covered in this tutorial are role of respiratory pigment, transportation, and human circulatory system. Students, first of all, tell me which respiratory pigment transport oxygen to various parts of the body. Yes, right, that is hemoglobin. Now tell me where hemoglobin is present. Exactly, RBC, that is red blood cells. So, hemoglobin is respiratory pigment which play an important role in transport of oxygen. It has high affinity for oxygen. However, carbon dioxide is more soluble in water than oxygen. So, it's going to be transported in the dissolved form. Now tell me students, have you ever imagined if we don't have hemoglobin, then how oxygen will transport to various parts of the body? Yes, right. It's going to be really difficult. It almost take 3 years to transport one oxygen molecule from our lungs to the toes. So we must be very thankful to God that we have hemoglobin so that oxygen can be easily transported to the various organs of the body. Now we have to discuss about transportation. As the word suggests, it refers to the carrying of materials from one part to the another part of the body. And materials are carried from the region of their availability to the region of their consumption, storage, or elimination. We have to discuss transportation both in plants and animals. First of all, we are going to deal with transportation in human. And blood is one of the medium which transport substances from one part to the another. It is a connective tissue which plays the role of the carrier for various substances in the body. It comprises of plasma, blood cells, and platelets. What is blood plasma? Blood plasma is fluid or the matrix kind of thing in which other parts of the blood are being present. It is pale in color and liquidy in texture. Now we have to discuss about blood cells. Blood cells are also referred as formed elements. Basically in blood we have two types of cells, that is RBC and WBC. Red blood cells are also referred as red blood corpuscles. These are red in color because of presence of hemoglobin. Students, you have to understand that hemoglobin shows affinity to both oxygen and carbon dioxide binding. But it depends on the concentration of which gas is more. If the concentration of carbon dioxide is more, hemoglobin is going to bind with carbon dioxide. If the concentration of oxygen is more, then hemoglobin is going to bind with oxygen. Okay, so hemoglobin have tendency for both the gases to bind with both of the gases, that is oxygen and carbon dioxide, but it depends on the concentration of the gases to which hemoglobin is going to be bind. So the transport of oxygen happens through hemoglobin. We have discussed earlier as well. Some part of carbon dioxide is also transported through hemoglobin. I hope this part is clear to you now. WBC. These are white blood corpuscles. These are white in texture or pale in texture. They play important role in the immunity. Now we have to discuss one of the important topic of the blood, that is platelets. Platelets are not the cells. They are the remnants of cells. That is RBC or WBC. They are the remnants of the cells. They are not full-fledged cells. They play a vital role in blood coagulation. What is blood coagulation? Have you ever noticed that whenever we have injury, blood used to come out or ooze out from the injured part? And this is not continuous process. After some time, the blood stop oozing out from the injured surface. That is because of the platelets. Platelets form a sheath over injured area so that oozing of blood can be prevented. This is referred as blood coagulation. Platelets are very vital for the blood coagulation. Blood coagulation is a defense mechanism which prevents excess loss of blood in case of injury, and platelets going to play a pivotal role in blood coagulation. Now you have a very good representation of the formed elements of the blood. These are red blood cells and white blood cells. Red blood cells are red in texture and biconcave in shape. They don't have nucleus. The WBC are bigger in size than RBC. These irregular shaped bodies being present in the blood are the platelets, and the matrix or the fluid medium is the plasma. In this video also you can observe the red color cells are the RBC and pale or white color texture cells are the WBC, and small drops, white drops being present, these are the platelets being irregular in shape, and the medium is the plasma in which all of the elements are being present. Now we have to discuss the pumping organ of our body, that is heart. If you can notice, it is quite complex, but trust me, if you understand whole of the mechanism of the heart, this is very easy diagram you can have ever. As you know, human heart comprises of 4 chambers, 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. The upper chambers are the atrium and the lower chambers are the ventricles. And this is the left atrium and this is the left ventricle. And here it is the right atrium and right ventricle. The 2 ventricles are going to be separated with the help of a membrane which is referred as septum. Which is referred as what? That is septum. Okay. And whenever we are going to study about the mechanism of the heart, we should start from the left side. That is left atrium and left ventricle. So as you can see, it is slightly orangish in nature. So you can correlate, it carries oxygenated blood, the blood which is rich in oxygen. And the right part of the heart, that is right atrium and right ventricles, have blue color blood, that is deoxygenated blood, the blood which devoid of oxygen. Now we have to understand the functioning of the left side of the heart. From where the oxygenated blood comes, that is from the lungs. And for the lungs we have to use this word. This is pulmonary. And I have told you earlier as well, pulmonary word is totally related with the lungs. So pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. And from left atrium, the blood goes into the left ventricle. And this oxygenated blood is being required by whole of the body and being transported with the help of aorta. Okay, this is aorta. Now come to the right side of the heart. It carries deoxygenated blood, and from where this deoxygenated blood comes from, that is from the upper part of the body and lower part of the body. The vessel which carries blood from the upper part, that is deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body, is referred as upper vena cava. Okay, and the vessel which carries blood from the lower part of the body is referred as lower vena cava. In some books it is being written as superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. Both terms are correct. Okay, so deoxygenated blood is being transported with the help of vena cava. The upper vena cava carries blood from upper part of the body and lower vena cava carries blood from the lower part of the body. It comes into the right atrium and then the blood moves into the right ventricle. And this deoxygenated blood goes where? That is to the lungs. So you can see the arrows and trace them. It goes to the lungs with the help of pulmonary arteries. I suggest you, first of all, you should draw this diagram, then understand the functioning of the heart. Okay, you have to practice this diagram at least 5 times. So you have a clear-cut understanding about the arrows being presented and the various parts of the heart. Okay, so we have to go through the text as well. Heart is a muscular organ. As you know, it is a pumping organ, so comprises of special type of muscles. These are cardiac muscles. It is so small that it can fit inside an adult's face. Okay, that is adult fist. You can imagine the size of your fist and your heart. Okay, the heart size cannot be more than your fist. Okay, the heart is a pumping organ which pumps the blood. The human heart is composed of four chambers, that is right auricle, right ventricle, left auricle, and left ventricle. Then we have to understand these two terms, systole and diastole. Systoles mean contraction of cardiac muscles, and diastoles mean relaxation of cardiac muscles. Contraction refers to systole and diastole refers to the relaxation. This term, these terms, you need to be clarified first. What is systole? That refers to the contraction of cardiac muscles. Diastole refers to the relaxation of cardiac muscles. Okay, these terms need to be clear before going to the other part of the heart. Okay, so now we are moving to the vessels of the heart, that is arteries and veins. Arteries, they are thick-walled vessels carry oxygenated blood from the heart to the different parts of the body. Pulmonary arteries are the section which carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lung, where oxygenation of the blood takes place. As we have discussed earlier as well, pulmonary arteries carries deoxygenated blood for the oxygenation in the lungs. Now comes to the veins. These are thin-walled blood vessels, okay, carries deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body to the heart. Pulmonary veins are the exception, which carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. Valves are going to be there to prevent any sort of backflow. If there is backflow, then all of the blood will go into the tissues again. So there are valves or some gates are being present which prevent any sort of backflow of blood. Now comes to the capillaries. These arteries and veins going to be divided again and again and forms a thread kind of a structure. Slightly you can imagine a tube having the lumen as that of the thread. They are so much thin. These are the blood vessels which have single cell wall. These are very thin in nature. Okay, now we should look over this diagram. This is very important. As you can see the color, artery, A for artery, A for away. It always carry blood away from the heart. As you can see, away, the arrow shows away from the heart, and the color is red, which represent it carries oxygenated blood, and you know pulmonary artery is the exception. Now look at vein. You can easily see it is blue in color and it carries deoxygenated blood and it carries blood towards the heart. And pulmonary veins are the exception which carries what kind of blood? That is oxygenated. So you can demarcate artery and vein with the help of colors as well. And you can see there are gates being present. These are walls which prevent backflow of the blood. And other thing you can notice over here that arteries are thicker, having thicker wall, and veins are having thinner walls. You can see over here. Okay, so this is one of the demarcation you can understand with the diagram. Now look at this animated video. You can see the heart is having lots of arteries and veins distributed throughout the body. The red vessels carries oxygenated blood and blue vessels carry deoxygenated blood. Now we have to look at the difference between arteries and veins. Arteries carries oxygenated blood along with the nutrients and veins carries deoxygenated blood. along with lots of waste material. Walls of the arteries are rigid, thicker, and highly muscular. However, the walls of the veins are thin and collapsible. They are not that much muscular. Okay, collapsible means they are not that much muscular as the arteries are. Arteries are deeply situated within the body. Veins are located superficially. Okay, you can observe veins beneath your skin, especially in the hands. You can observe the bluish greenish vessels being running. These are actually the veins. Okay, arteries are red in color, veins are blue in color. Arteries carries blood away from the heart. I have told you earlier, A for arteries, A for away from the heart. You can easily remember this term. It carries blood away from the heart. Veins carry blood towards the heart. Okay, the pressure of blood inside the arteries is quite high. However, the pressure of blood in veins is quite low. Oxygen level is very high in arteries and lesser in or lower in veins. Okay, these difference you need to remember. These are very, very important from the examination point of view. Now look at this diagram once again. This is the black and white diagram of the heart, which we have discussed earlier. I have made this diagram in a black and white form deliberately so that you can draw this diagram very easily with the help of your drawing skills. Now you can see the heart comprises of 4 chambers, 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. Okay, this is left part of the heart, this is right part of the heart, and left part of the heart carries oxygenated blood and right side of the heart carries deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood comes from pulmonary veins. You can see that veins carries blood towards the heart and pulmonary veins carries oxygenated blood towards the heart, and this blood first of all reaches to the left atrium and then moves towards the left ventricle. And here you can see the deoxygenated blood which is coming from vena cava, that is upper vena cava and lower vena cava, comes into the right atrium, then moves to the right ventricle. And deoxygenated blood goes for the oxygenation with the help of pulmonary arteries towards the lungs. So this diagram is quite clear to you now. I hope that you have to practice this diagram at least 5 times. Otherwise, you are going to forget each and everything. Now we have to study about the functioning of the heart. We have to follow steps by steps. I have made a 2 segment of the functioning, that is red one and the blue one. Red one is for the oxygenated blood circulation and the blue one is for the deoxygenated blood circulation. We have to follow 6 steps. You have to remember all of the 6 steps step by step. Not the third step can be the first one. No, it's not like that. We have to follow the series, that is from first to the sixth. First of all, I am going to discuss the first step of the cardiac cycle or the functioning of the heart. It carries oxygenated blood from the lungs, comes to the thin-walled upper chamber of the heart. Atriums are the thin-walled chambers in a relaxed state. Only in the relaxed state they are able to hold the blood coming from the veins, that is pulmonary veins. And left atrium then receiving all of the blood from the pulmonary veins, going to contract and releases blood into the left ventricle. Left ventricle or the ventricles are thick chambers. They have thick musculature. And now we have to come to the deoxygenated blood circulation. Deoxygenated blood comes from the body to the right atrium when it is relaxed, and right atrium is going to contract and pushes blood into the right ventricle. Then right ventricle is going to contract further and pushes blood into the pulmonary artery for the oxygenation part. So I hope these steps now clear to you. Now we have to understand the meaning of double circulation. Our circulation in the heart is double circulation. Why it is referred? You can see in this diagram, the oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood are quite separate from each other, and they are coming from the different segments and going to the different pathway. This type of circulation where oxygenated blood and deoxygenated blood are quite separate and having different pathway, this type of circulation is referred as double circulation. Now comes to the definition part. A circulatory system in which the blood travels twice through the heart in one complete cycle, it is referred as double circulation. Now we have to discuss the flow chart of the double circulation. This is very, very important diagram. You have to make it more than twice. You have to practice this diagram more than twice, otherwise you are going to forget. And you can understand the importance of this diagram. Since 2012 to 2020, it has been came around 5 times. Okay, so it has been asked in CBSE 5 times. You can see the importance of this flow chart. The steps are being mentioned. You have to remember these steps as a whole. That first of all, oxygenated blood comes from pulmonary veins to the left atrium, and from left atrium it goes to the left ventricle, and from there it moves to the other parts of the body. And deoxygenated blood, which is being collected by the vena cava, going to the right atrium, then comes into the right ventricle and go for the oxygenation with the help of pulmonary artery to the lungs. These are the 6 steps which we have discussed in the cardiac cycle. That is these are the only those steps, but you have to remember this flow chart as a whole. Okay, now comes to the lymph. Lymph is another important segment of the transport. What is lymph? Lymph is basically referred as interstitial tissue fluid. Okay, it is a fluid which is being present inside that of the tissue. That's why it is referred as interstitial fluid. Okay, now you can see here in this diagram. First of all, go with this diagram. That is arteriole and venule are being mentioned over here. What are arteries? These are the branched section of the artery. Venules, similar way, are the branch sections of the vein. Arterioles, as the word suggests, carries oxygenated blood, and veins carries deoxygenated blood. The oxygenated blood coming from the arteries goes inside that of the tissue. And how it is going to be move into the tissue? By some leaking of the fluid substance from the arteriole. Some substances, that is nutrient, oxygen, going to be leak out from the arteriole and move inside that of the tissue in the form of the fluid, which is referred as lymph. Okay, so whole of the substances is being transported to the tissue, inside of the tissue with this fluid. And this purple diagram shows that of the capillary, which is moving inside that of the tissue for the transportation part. And these capillaries in turn going to collect all of the waste substances from the tissue and transport it to the vein. So this fluid in which all of the tissue are being bathed, this is interstitial fluid. Okay, what are the functions of the lymph? Lymph also play an important role in immune system. Immune system is supported with the help of the lymph because it contains some of the cells which can engulf any sort of pathogen being present inside that of the tissue. Lymph help in removing waste products. Lymph takes part in nutritive process of the body. Now we have to compare the heart of the vertebrates. This diagram you need not to draw. First of all, you have to understand this diagram. You need not to draw this diagram. You have to understand it only. We have to compare the vertebrates heart. Okay. First of all, we are going to discuss about the Pisces, that is fish heart. The blood is coming into the auricle and then going out from the ventricles. You can see there is no demarcation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So this type of circulation where there is no clear-cut bifurcation of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is referred as single circulation. And in amphibians, you can notice that we have 2 separate chambers, that is auricles, but one ventricle is there. So there is no like importance of the auricles because whole of the blood is going to be mixed into the ventricles. This is the case of amphibian, and similar case you can notice in reptiles as well. It is three chambered heart having two auricles and one ventricle which is slightly bifurcated, but it is almost three chambered. Okay, there is no bifurcation into the auricles further, so it is also referred as a three chambered heart, except in the case of crocodiles. Crocodiles have similar heart like us, that is four chambered, two auricles and two ventricles. Birds, mammals have four chambered heart, that is two auricles and two ventricles. Pisces have single circulation, that is single chamber. Then amphibian have three chamber, and bird mammals have four chambered heart. Okay, you can see the single circulation being present into the heart of a fish, and this type of circulation is referred as single circulation. Now we have to come over the blood pressure. This is the yellow box we have to discuss. What is blood pressure? The force that blood exerts against the wall of the vessel is referred as blood pressure. And it is much higher in arteries than in veins, as we have discussed earlier. Then we have to deal with two separate terms, that is systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. The pressure of the blood inside the artery during ventricular systole is referred as systolic pressure. The pressure of blood inside the artery during ventricular diastole is referred as diastolic pressure. Now, the normal systolic pressure in healthy human being is 120 mm of mercury, and normal diastolic pressure is 80 mm of mercury. What is hypertension? Hypertension when the person is having high blood pressure caused by constriction of the arteries. Arteries are quite narrow in human, which result in increased resistance to blood flow. It can lead to rupture of the artery and internal bleeding. This is very, very serious condition where the blood pressure is quite high, and you have noticed that elderly person in your home might be suffering from this type of thing, that is hypertension. Now, this is the diagram which represent how blood pressure is being measured with the help of one instrument, that is sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer is used to check the blood pressure, and it is a band kind of thing attached with that of the stethoscope and a pumping pipe. And healthy human is going to have 120 as upper BP and lower BP is 80. That's all for today. Thank you.